So hi, I'm Kay Gifford, and how much of a load of crap was that? Arresting a Georgia representative for wanting to watch the governor sign essentially the new Jim Crow bill that is going to severely restrict voter access, especially to those of color and those of lower income in Georgia. I'm not going to go into the details a whole bunch. I'm sure you've all heard about it, and it's super easy enough to tune into the news for. But my God, talk about triggers. Every day, more triggers. That's what I'm on here, is to help other sexual abuse survivors deal with their triggers. And it's not just sexual abuse survivors. Anymore, it's like the crossover. Everybody I know, can seem to relate on some level with what I'm saying, because the abuse is so societal now. It's not the same as being groomed to be somebody's little child mistress, but it's definitely a screwed up society where every single person in it, man and woman, is given such huge mixed messages all the time. I talked yesterday about the way we speak, just saying things like dick and pussy is bad things, when also, what does everybody want? Some dick or pussy or both? These kind of things, just the way we set up these paradoxes, lady on the street, whore in the bedroom. I don't know why anything two people want to do in the bedroom would be considered whorish unless there's an exchange of money. Speaking of exchanges of money, what is whorish, in my opinion? Whorish and not empowering at all, and really pisses me off. And part of what I want to talk about today is this mistaken idea of what empowerment is. Empowerment isn't getting even. It isn't hurting men, or it isn't basically what, like the Cardi B, Megan Thee Stallion performance. I'm supposed to believe this is empowering, and I've talked about it before, but it came up again. I had the fight again. It's not a fight, it's just you do you. But I don't want to teach my sons or daughters, if I had any, but I have sons, I do not want to teach them that women are like that. I don't want to be the woman who needs good credit and rings in exchange for my sexual favors. And as I said before, we used to call that prostitution. And I'm not even saying that's a bad thing, although I do think there are lots of bad things about it. That's a whole other subject we've had. We're not going that today, but back to that, just the overview. That's the overview. You know what we're talking about. We're back into that ballpark again here. I mean, when we access voter restriction to so many people, when we realize that the women's gym has like virtually no equipment, here have a yoga mat, and the men's gym is like styled out, when 6 Asian women can be targeted and we don't call it a hate crime against Asians or women, trauma compounds. And that's what we've been talking about this week, amongst other things, is compounding trauma. And somebody said something that really it got to me. It was Trevor Noah, a clip on Trevor Noah Daily Show, they were saying a psychologist, I don't know what her profession is, somebody smart with degrees, whom I happen to agree with, and so do statistics, said that, think about it, children, little girls, as young as the age of 11, are whistled at routinely walking down the street. And she reminded me, I'm always going back to my big thing is, why didn't I tell? That's what everybody wants to know. How did you go through all these years of sexual abuse in a good family? It wasn't my immediate family, but rather my eldest sister's first husband, who was much older, and everything seemed so good, and I was an honor roll student, and I was a cheerleader, and I was on the tumbling team, and I was in honor society, and I did plays, and I had 21 music awards by the time I was out of there. I was a Girl Scout all the way through senior scouts. I was a candy striper at the hospital, a volunteer. And I was being molested and eventually raped regularly through most of all of that. And the reason I didn't tell. Back to how it all ties together. She's saying, and this made me feel, I'm always looking for things to make me feel better because I live with that shame. The reason I tell you not to be shameful is because I know what it's like. I know what it's like to fight it every day. As I often say, surviving is, there's no graduation date for survivors. It's a process. It's a way to approach life. And I've learned 5 important things that help me get on with life. And we'll talk about that later. I would talk about it every day because it's important. I tell myself it every day. Every day. These are the things I do every day. And we just talked a little bit about shame. That's number 1, realizing that shame is not yours, not yours, not yours. It's your abuser's. So it's hard to do, especially when you're at an age where you're already being sexualized by everything you see around you, magazines, TV, everything. And so when 11-year-old and 13-year-old, at that age, you're still a child, you're still answered to adults. So when someone whistles at a young girl like that, they don't know, or says something or tries to talk to him, they don't immediately know to go and get away or ignore them or whatever, or that it's wrong. They're thinking, this is an adult, what do I do? And I wrote down the words that the lady smarter than me said. Same as, she said, to a child that's being approached by an adult sexually or even in a laughing, whistly, my own grandpa was like pinch a girl's boob and not think that that was inappropriate, and it was inappropriate, Grandpa. Seriously. Anyway, if I say no, then, like, this is the child thinking, well, if I say no, are they going to yell at me? Am I going to get in trouble? What do I do? What do I do? So we need to equip our children. And education is like advocate and educate. That's number 5. I put them together because they're the same thing, really. They're the back end and the front end of the same thing. So we're going to advocate and we're going to educate. And part of the educating is be clear about boundaries. Sexual boundaries, especially. Now, children, if their parents aren't totally crazy and won't sign the paper to let them at least be talked to in school, usually in kindergarten. Years ago, I was a kindergarten aide. And they give the talk, nobody should touch you, wear your bathing suit covers, except for a parent or a trusted family member or, or the doctor. And guess what? Those are the people who abuse people the most. Those are the people, that's just not a good enough rule. That's not enough. You're going to have to go further with your children, and you're going to have to be way more specific than that, especially if they, like me, are on the spectrum. I have Aspergers Syndrome. I'm a high-functioning Aspergers Syndrome person. And that factors in, too, to how it's just too confusing. You're trying to make... That's why I excelled at everything, because I thought I had to. I didn't know there was an option. I never considered getting less than an A in anything. I never considered not winning. I never considered not being first seat loudest. If I had been, it wouldn't have just been, oh well, somebody's better than me. I would have been devastated. It would have been like, I would have hated myself more, because everything I have done is to prove that I am a decent person who deserves the air and the carbon that I'm made out of and that I breathe. Flip that. Reverse that, as Willy Wonka would say. And you know what? No one should have to walk around feeling that way. Our children should feel like they belong in the world, and the world is a joyous place, and that we all live in this joyous place to experience it and love each other and take care of each other. And, I started doing these live streams way back. I started writing on Facebook and doing my essays and stuff just because they come out, not for any purpose. And then it morphed into the sexual abuse, and I was like, how am I going to do 2 live streams, political stuff, and the helping the people I'm working with, because I'm going full-time with life coaching now. And I'm like, how can I? And I realized it's all the same thing. Politics, society, sexuality. That's why we're just doing this. We're just gonna I'm not even gonna be doing live streams on those nasty women anymore. I'm just gonna stick with these 5-day-a-week shorter live streams, because the people I talk to, we talk almost every day. And that's kind of, I'm seeing that we're a community now, that the sweet survivors, we're the sweet survivors. And we're a goddamn community. And they can't stop us. And we're going to take thosenastywomen.com, which I own and I'm still deciding what to do with. Right now, if you go there, it's routed to my store, feelgoodfairtrade.com, where I support women from all over the world with fair trade products that I deliver to you in 2 to 5 days. More like 3 to 6 right now. But not a pitch time, really. Just throw that in there. By the by. But what are we going to do, people? I'm going to sit back. I brought up the subject of, and thank you for the thoughtful question, friend, fellow survivor. I was talking about what I call hopeless vengeance. Hopeless vengeance. Hopeless vengeance is how I plotted to kill my ex-brother-in-law. I plotted and I plotted for years. I thought of ways to kill him. I couldn't figure out how to do it. I was worried because he was supporting my niece and nephew. But the only satisfaction I got was in plotting that murder I would never commit. I mean, I didn't like diagram it out. It didn't take it that far, but I'm just saying I wanted to kill him. I wanted to kill him. I wanted to kill him. Someday I will kill you. Someday I can kill you someday. And eventually it got to the point that I realized I just like didn't, you know, I wouldn't mind the death penalty for rapists and child abusers. I really wouldn't. I really think if you rape a child that you should get the death penalty. But, you know, years later, the vengeance part has faded from me somewhat. Now I want justice. Now I want justice. I found out there's no statute of limitations in the state of Missouri, and I'm suing him. But my hopeless vengeance got me nowhere, and it ate me up inside. So what I mean by hopeless vengeance is things that don't do you any good. Hopeless vengeance. Hopeless vengeance goes along with another concept that I call, these are things I've made up, I call it toxic compliance. And it goes along with what I was saying earlier. We're conditioned to obey adults. We're conditioned to be sexy and cute. We listen to people call us little girl. We call our lovers old man or daddy. I mean, these things just come on. It's so confusing, especially to kids on the spectrum, because we're so literal, you know. But that's a whole other thing. So toxic compliance is another way that you demonstrate hopeless vengeance. You just, how do I say this? Not toxic compliance itself. Because of toxic compliance, what you're doing is throwing the rest of womankind and mankind, because they can't have good relationships either if we're all fucked up in the head and heart and emotions. So you're throwing everybody under the bus, and you're doing it, if you're toxically complying, you're doing it in an effort to fit in with the men folk, to rise with the men. And you see this with Trump supporters, Trump supporting women. They want to be the best woman hater woman. You know, they want to be the biggest Trump supporter. How about the one that had a "you can grab my pussy" shirt on at a convention? Wow. This is what we are up against, and I do mean up against. And that leads to another statement that was made to me, question, but it was more of a statement. Guys, is a question. Don't you hate it when people do that passive aggressive shit? It was like, why are you so aggressive? Why do you need to be so aggressive? And it went on with some shit, Jesus-y shit. Or not Jesus-y, but there's darkness in your heart. And I'm like, no, my heart is light. My heart is light, and it gets lighter by the day. It does. So, I guess what I have to say to that question, why am I so aggressive? I'm not aggressive at all. You've seen nothing yet. I have just started. I'm going to get what you must really think is going to be aggressive, because we are not laying down. We have an election to win, a whole bunch of elections to win. Every damn one of them is important. And it's not important because I like Democrats and donkeys. It's important because I want to live in this world, and I want my children to live in this world, and I want all of my LGBTQIA community and friends and family to live in this world without fear and peacefully. I want everybody to practice whatever religion they want and nobody give a damn. So no, you've seen nothing yet. I'm just getting started in the aggression realm, but I'm not vengeful at all. I seek justice. So here's what we can do. Instead of idly bitching, how about educate? Right? That's step 5. Advocate and educate. Every day. Advocate and educate. If you are working for somebody else, you don't have time to care what anybody thinks about you. That's what works for me. So that's super important. Did I leave anything else out? Remember that we have to be strategic. This is so hard to say because I'm getting all kinds of flack for it. I am going after my abuser legally. I am going after every elected official who disparages women or minorities or is xenophobic. I am doing those things. But that isn't hopeless vengeance. That's action. That's taking positive action to change things. And I don't let it spill over into my life. That's why I'm on early tonight, because I actually have a life and a damn good one. And I'm helping a lot of other people get there, and I want to help you get there too. So, no more hopeless vengeance. No more sitting around wishing you could kill somebody, hating on somebody. Someday I'm gonna, and if only this, then I would that. Just get on with that, okay? If only does you no good. If you're waiting on an if only, then you need to change your plan. You need to change your plan. I'm a poor single mother. I know how to change my plan. You know, my partner said, you know how to hustle. It's like, that is what I do. Said something, he didn't say it exactly like that. It's like, well, yes, what I do is hustle. I figure it out. I figure out what needs to be paid and how I'm going to do it. I figure out whose products need to be sold, and I try to sell them. I see what needs to be fixed in the world. I try to fix it. I see a person hurting, and I try to soothe them. I see a hungry person, I feed them. I don't know. Somehow I thought that's what we were all supposed to do, and it's not even a religious thing. Doesn't every religion say that? So women, do me a favor. Look at the ways in your life that you're just going along with the program, the man program, in ways that disparage you and us. And don't do that anymore. And everyone right now with young children, and by young I mean alive, under 30, or still a virgin, or not, go have that talk about boundaries. And I don't just mean who can touch you where, I mean real boundaries. And we're going to super expand on that on Monday. Boundaries. Oh, I have pages and pages on boundaries to do. So remember, shame is not yours. And remember, we didn't touch on this today, but there are ways to, and you can separate the past from the present, and you're not going to do it permanently. You have to do it each and every time. But that's not so daunting as it sounds. And if you want to know more about how to do that and want to work one-on-one, please message me through my group. Sweet Survivor Rescue Fund has a messenger thread. There's an appointment calendar on there. Now, because we're playing with numbers, I didn't put one in, oh, here's scheduled spots. I'm not the doctor isn't. It's an appointment calendar. You message me and tell me what you would like, and I'll tell you if that works for me. We'll find something that works, and then we'll book it on that appointment calendar. So then I'll know. So happy to, thrilled to help you, because the only way that I feel okay every day and that I continue surviving as The title of my book is Self-Talk, My Continuing Efforts to Survive Childhood Sexual Abuse, because every day I survive it, and I survive it pretty dang well most of the time. But there's not usually a day that goes by that something doesn't trigger me to tears. I just don't break down all the way. I let it wash over me. I let that feeling that I've regressed in time and I'm a little girl again and I'm scared, I let it wash over me, and I think rationally and use mind tricks that we've already talked about and are going to talk about a lot more, and they're going to be in the coursework that goes along with my book. It's getting pretty exciting. It's kind of growing into way more than I ever thought when I started writing to save my sanity after I blacked out. But thanks for coming along for the ride, and thanks for helping me. You're helping me as much as I'm helping you. See you Monday.